the Agile brand.
Welcome to Season 2 of the Innovation Economy podcast, where we look at what it's like to build businesses, work, and live in an innovative place, and the role of location in a hyper-connected, hybrid work world. The Innovation Economy podcast series is brought to you by Arlington Economic Development, representing Arlington, Virginia, one of the most dynamic economic hubs in America, with resources for businesses from the Fortune 500 to startups and everything in between. You can learn more about them at www.arlingtoneconomicdevelopment.com. That's www.arlingtoneconomicdevelopment.com. To listen to the latest episodes or sign up for the Innovation Economy newsletter, go to innovationeconomy.show or click follow on your favorite podcast app. And now on to the show.
Welcome to the Innovation Economy with Arlington Economic Development. And this month is February, and February is all about love, and it is the annual celebration of Black History Month. I love how the two go hand in hand. And this is an extra special podcast because I am a guest podcaster today. In addition, we are celebrating and collaborating with the National Landing Bid. Black History Month is a vital time to honor the achievements, resilience, and contributions of Black entrepreneurs who have shaped industries and paved the way for future generations. From trailblazers like Madam C.J. to today's innovators in tech, finance, and beyond, their stories serve as powerful lessons in perseverance, creativity, and economic empowerment. As we celebrate Black excellence and entrepreneurship, we also recognize the ongoing challenges and the need for equitable opportunities. Join us as we highlight inspiring Black business leaders, share their journeys, and explore how we can foster a more inclusive and thriving entrepreneurial landscape. All that said, I'm Tara Palacios, the Director of BizLaunch at Arlington Economic Development in Arlington, Virginia. Economic development agencies throughout the United States aim to build sustainable businesses, and the role that businesses play are extremely vital to the health of our communities. We wholeheartedly support our small businesses through BizLaunch and value the importance of placemaking as a sector and devoted to the creative economy and the arts. On today's show, we are going to discuss Black entrepreneurship and what it takes to innovate and create using food as a canvas. To help me with this topic and discussion is the renowned chef Harper of Queen Mother's Kitchen, located in National Landing in Arlington, as well as, I should say, the winner of Series 3, Hell's Kitchen with Gordon Ramsay. The fact that you made it through that right there, I give you your accolades, my friend. So welcome to the show, Chef Harper, Rock. Could you tell us about your journey in becoming a top chef and what inspired you and kept you focused on your goals?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah, for having me. This is an honor to be here. I appreciate it. Inspiration comes in many forms.
Yes.
For me, I think, I have an interesting story that's similar to many chefs. I loved my grandmother and mother's cooking when I was growing up. I love the way that they could sort of influence, a crowd, if you will, whether it's the family reunion after church or just a regular Wednesday night through food and entertaining. So I fell in love with that. But also in 8th grade, I had a wonderful home economics teacher.
Oh,
Her
wow.
name was Mrs. Hill. Shout out to Mrs. Hill. She was a very proper Southern woman, and she taught me how to make lasagna in the 8th grade. And it was at that point when I really had aspirations to be a stand-up comic.
What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The classroom was my stage, unfortunately, but I knew that I wanted to be in entertainment somehow. But she really helped open my eyes, that class, on cooking as a profession. After I made that lasagna and people were so excited about it, I found out that, hey, you can do this thing called chefing. And that was in the 8th grade. And then there on out, I had an incredible mentor in high school. His name was John Dorney. He had the Boyardee mustache and all of that. He went on to be a great mentor of mine. And that was really where I was inspired to become a chef. This was
Hmm.
in the early 90s when Emerald was just about to poke his head out.
Oh,
There was this
damn.
guy on, yeah, bam, another notch. There was this guy on PBS called Justin Wilson with the suspenders, who was very entertaining. So that sort of blended my love of cooking and entertainment, and then it took off from there.
Wow, it sounds like to me you had some really great mentors in your career that kind of helped guide you. Would you say that for people that are listening to make sure that they have a mentor to be able to achieve their dreams and goals?
For sure, I think mentorship is vital in life and in business because as smart as we think we are, as much as technology in the current times tell us that we're the smartest ever. I guarantee you someone else has done it before. And we don't have to
Mm.
start over. We don't have to learn. We're going to learn and make mistakes. We don't have to make the mistakes that our friends and supporters have made or in the same way. So mentorship has been and continues to be vital for me because you just don't have to try to bake bread. There's we already know how to bake bread. so
Yes.
so yeah, just figure out how to do the new thing. And people from the past, our elders or mentors that are not necessarily older than you, that have done it before or understand something better than you do, are vital.
And make you look at the glass in a different way. It's still the
Yes.
glass, it's full, but just changing and altering it to make the experiences different.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yes, it is. You're right. It really mentorship or even, and sometimes people don't even know if this is you. People don't even know they're my mentors, right?
Yeah.
I'm calling you, asking you questions, and I'm taking notes. You're like, oh, I just hacked the mentorship. But you're right in that you can just get a different set of eyes on it.
Mm.
And that happens in the kitchen. I have some chef friends that I'll just tell them about my problems and my challenges or a dish that I'm working on, and they'll say, "Oh, you could try this. What about that?" And it could be something just as simple as seasoning or another
Mm.
component that might change the flavor a little bit, and you only get that by asking for a different perspective.
I love that because I think with entrepreneurship, many times, or even like as a top chef, you think, oh, I've got to handle this on my own. I can do this. And sometimes reaching out will help solve a problem or even help you to find a different solution.
Yeah, yeah, guilty on that front, and I still struggle with that as an entrepreneur, and it's still in somewhat budding stages because no one can do it like me. But that a lot of times that's not good.
Right,
It doesn't
right.
need to be done by me. So I just understand the power of telling people your problems and seeing if there's a solution.
Mhm.
If there's no solution, you're right back where you were. Or I shouldn't even say solution. We don't necessarily need to solve things, but a different perspective in the
Yes.
direction in the direction that can get you some momentum. I have to remind myself that today. I'm thinking about
Yes.
something I need to reach out to somebody about. So yeah.
And it's innovation in the space and creativity and like freshness of it all, right?
Yes,
Oh my
correct.
gosh. Everything that I could see online, you pay homage to grandmothers, aunties, those women in our lives that just have had such major impact. What are some of the aspects of your business that's been intertwined with your mission and this homage that you pay? And how does that motivate you?
Yeah, I need to have values and we need to live our values. I've
Yes.
been in this chef game for almost 30 years now, and we hear
That's
stories
a
from the
long time, friend.
that's a long time. That's a long time. Yeah, like my knees and back will tell you that's a long time too. But it often we hear from chefs on television and restaurants and books about the influence of their mothers, their grandmothers, their aunties, the women
Mm,
in their lives. Usually, it's not always women, but it was very important for me when I opened Queen Mothers that we live that story and we actually
mm.
it makes its way out into the restaurant in many different ways. So naming it and telling the story of where this came from, and also cutting my mama some checks, right?
That's right.
you know,
We gotta look out for mama.
Yes, because she brought me to this point, and my grandmother and those
Mm,
before them. So
that's right.
our values are, we have three cornerstones: community, care, and culture. Right? We are a
Mm,
member of the community at large, right? But really down to the micro level at Water Park, National Landing, Crystal City, and we care. We care for ourselves. We care for those working with us, and we care for our guests as well. Of course. So it's just, and we cook like it. When someone wants a special request, or maybe something didn't turn out perfectly the way they wanted, treat them with care as if they were in your home. We don't
mm,
necessarily have to agree, and as an artist, we don't always agree when people don't like our food.
that's right.
But but
Natural, like, what do
ex-
you mean?
exactly.
Mm,
But think first with care, and lastly, culture. So culture for us, I have a couple friends, Janine Hayes and Brian Mason from Afro Chic, which is they're
mm,
like designers, and they say in their first book something like culture is a response, is like a people's response to their environment or what happened. Right? They
mm,
said it much more eloquently, but if I think about the culture, if we're talking about, African American food,
yes.
what was our response and how do we to circumstances in this nation, but definitely prior, because we didn't start here. What was our response to our circumstances, the time, our environment, and how does that play out? How has that played out on the
Mm,
plate and in our dining and communal settings? So we
mm,
want to culture for us at Queen Mothers, we want to honor the stories, right? and
mm.
and tell those stories, and they're actually, this is a little cheesy, but they're actually quite delicious,
See?
right? So those are and I find I do that with every I'm annoying sometimes to eat out with, because I want to ask questions and I want to see how a dish arrived, not necessarily that day,
Mhm.
but how did this come to be, for the person that's
Mm.
cooking it? Why is it so important? I have a friend of mine at a restaurant around the corner. They serve this pupusa with, I forget what kind of pepper it is on the side. And I'm asking these questions to
Mm.
the server, and his mom is in the kitchen. And I was like, yo, bring your mom out. And he's like, this is my mom's
Oh,
recipe.
I love it.
And so that's honoring culture to me. And I got to talk to mom chef, and she's literally making pupusas by hand at Providencia. And it was just
Wow.
so to me, I feel like we have a duty, just a responsibility, but also a duty to honor culture in that way.
Oh, I just love that so much because I think to me, in looking at food and the way you're breaking that down, Rock, is like it's creative, it's innovative from the very spices that you use, but then also the warmth that it produces and
Mm,
bringing people together is
hmm.
priceless to
I love
me.
it. Yes.
And it just it takes all the you might have had a rough day, but you come home or you go to Queen Mother's and you're gonna get this comfort food, a soup
Yes.
for the soul, I like to say.
Yes. I like the way you put that.
You know what I mean? It's like, you break it down to its parts. And that leads me to my next question, which is, and we started to talk about this a bit, but what types of innovations do you incorporate as part of your menu as you're thinking of bringing people together and they're dining and they're coming together?
That's a good question. I don't know how. I sometimes think we believe we're more innovative as than we really are. I try not to. I try and I push it. Especially in the chef space. Chefs really
Yes.
think they created something. It's like, boy, they did that 2 generations ago. You know, you didn't know about it. But in fried chicken, at least in the restaurant space, we don't race to the bottom of
Mm,
pricing. So we are a premium fried chicken place. And what that means for us is a couple of things. There's certain things that we're just not going to use. Fried chicken is loved around the world,
yes.
but we're going to use premium ingredients. I'm not going to compromise on the brioche bun that are baked in
Mm,
Maryland every day. The
mm.
the seasonings that we use that don't have any preservatives in them. Our artisan flour, our paprika from Spain,
Oh, wow.
our chicken that is almost organic. As we talk about bad, these stories about chicken and
Oh, yes.
eggs. We use a farm that has standards higher than the government allows.
Nice.
That is just the baseline, and I refuse to, like I started to say, race to the bottom on pricing, right? Because I can get a cheap
Yes.
chicken. I could get a really cheap chicken, and we could make more profit, or we could lower the price, or we could lower the price. But what I want, and maybe this is an innovation, I want people to enjoy the fried chicken, savor it, right? Fried chicken historically in the African American community was never a thing that we ate a lot. It was
Yes.
a celebratory dish. It
It
was
was a
something maybe.
delicacy.
That's right. It was maybe when the pastor was visiting, right?
Mhm.
Or maybe once a quarter, spring or something like that, that you would butcher an entire chicken and
Mhm.
and eat it in its way where, you can't stretch a fried chicken out, right? You can
No.
stretch roasted and pulled chicken. But so I'm saying innovation in the sense that enjoy it.
Mm.
We make use great products and excellent execution. So maybe it's innovative that, hey, you don't have to eat this every single day, but really enjoy the love that went into it. So
Oh,
maybe that's one way.
I love that. And I just remember the story of my dad used to tell when they would go down south
Mm.
and his mother would fry chicken up and stick it in a shoebox. So as you right, you know the shoebox. And he said that was the best tasting chicken. They would go down south, go down North Carolina, and it was just the flavoring and but it was special occasion.
Absolutely. That's just to get you in the door. Just to
Yes,
get you in the door, let you know that we might give you another box on the way back home, but you're not
exactly.
gonna get that every. Yes, the
No.
shoebox, the brown paper bag. My mother used to have it on the road trips because during times of segregation,
Yes.
they weren't we
Good
didn't have
stuff.
drive-throughs, but you couldn't stop anyway in certain towns, and they would have the shoebox or the paper bag chicken. So
That's
you're
right.
taking me back there. I love
I
it.
remember that. I was like, when you were talking, I was like, special delicacy in the
Yes.
story that he would just describe about just
Yes.
the joy he had.
Yes.
Have you faced any unique challenges as a Black entrepreneur? And if so, how did you navigate them? Because I work with entrepreneurs all day long. And
Yes.
some stories I hear, I'm like, oh gosh, how were you able to succeed with these things you have to overcome?
Yeah, I mean, my eyes got big there because yes, there are there are all the challenges, and I have many colleagues and friends that are not Black, and I think that in my conversations with them, there are certain things that they don't have to deal with that I
Mhm.
do.
Mm.
As a restaurant owner, it is just a really hard business. It's very
Yes.
tough. So there are things that are universal, but there are things that access to capital is one thing, and then
Yes.
I'll relate this to being Black. So finding cheap capital is another thing, right? Everybody wants inexpensive money, of course. Give me $1 million, I give you back $1,001, right?
Mhm.
That would
Mhm.
be
That's
love over
right.
50 years, right? But
Right.
the restaurants are higher risk, so the money gets more expensive. And then the
Mhm.
part where I've experienced this recent enough times where you're looking for investment, or I've looked for investment, and my concepts, fried chicken, and I'm telling a Black story, and I'm talking about Black women, and I'm really leaning into fried chicken in a way that not many people have in the space that I'm in, right? It's
Yes.
always a spin, it's always a elevated. It's not, and mine is different. Don't get me wrong, it's premium, but I don't shy away from where it comes from.
Yes.
So in one experience, I remember walking with a potential investor and two brokers touring this restaurant and telling the brokers about my vision to create like this farmhouse, sort of not country, but I just come back from this place in Tennessee, and I was really inspired
Mm.
by their barn, but it was Southern, it was soul. And I used to work at B. Smith's, so I
Oh.
have that in my heart.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I remember my investor was a Black guy, and the two brokers were white guys, and they were really they were good friends. And he said in so many words, he was telling me how to shape it, because the landlord wouldn't necessarily want anything. He didn't say these words, but in so many words, anything like a really black concept. So try to mold it in the way to to make it more palatable, right? And
Oh, wow.
so the challenge is this. I have to make my concept look like something different than what it is to make it sort of sellable. And that could be two reasons. One, a landlord can tell you whatever like it's their building. They can say whatever they want in their
Right,
building. I get that.
right.
But the other thing is I could also have one of my, non-black counterparts come in and say they're doing a twist on soul food. And it
Mhm.
all of a sudden, because of that framework, to certain people, it looks like, it looks valuable now, as opposed to when rock does it, it looks like soul food and we're gonna sell $10 plates and there's gonna be an element we don't want in our building. I think the challenge is trying to get people to understand that, we can cook excellent food, have a great, clientele, and we can pay our rent. That's the other thing. We can pay our rent with this,
Yes,
no matter how we enter. So that was a long answer, but I think that one of the biggest challenges is for people to now people understand, like, oh, fried chicken. 7 years
yes.
ago, I tried to get Queen Mothers off the ground maybe 10, 15 years ago. My best friend told me, he's like, man, you got to do it
Oh,
yourself. I will go around telling people, we got to open fried chickens before the Popeyes craze. We got to do
yes.
fried chicken. Gourmet fried chicken is coming because burgers, I saw it done with burgers. And so many potential investors was like, nah, I
Wow.
don't want to do fried chicken. And now, it's an incredible segment of elevated
Yes.
fried chicken. So, yeah,
And I
that was a long story, but yes.
no, no, this was very enlightening too, and I think it's like what we're getting at really is being having perseverance.
Oh, for sure.
And even though people say no, no, it's not yet, but I'm gonna make this happen.
That's right.
Come
That's
hell or
right.
high water. That's gonna
Right.
happen, right? And
Well,
not
no,
letting
not with you.
go.
Yeah, it might not be your thing, and that's fine.
And that's
Everyone's not gonna.
okay.
Yeah.
Not everybody's gonna like X or Y, but you have enough. And I think, whenever I go by Queen Mother's when I'm in National Land, there's a line when I
Yeah,
go by.
yeah. We like that. We like lines. A little bit of line. Too
Little
long a
line,
line
yeah.
mean we waiting too long.
Especially as cold as it is in February. And so one of my questions that was on my mind too was, what made you decide to pick Arlington for Queen Mothers? We're honored to have you.
Yes.
But what attracted you to the Arlington community?
Arlington, I'm from Alexandria originally. So I've cooked in DC my whole life, and I'm a believer in everything we've done over the bridge. And I tell people all the time, you
Oh,
know,
come.
I tell my DC friends, I said, I'm in the Southwest of the water. I said, well, you could see Virginia right there. It's really
Yes.
like,
It's
y'all
a
make me
dot.
out to be too far. Like, and we have great parking.
Yes. And it's not expensive.
Exactly, exactly. But it's an easy sell because I love our area.
Yes.
Quite frankly, it was Amy Rice at JBG
Oh,
who introduced the idea of water park to me.
I love
And
water
she
park.
sort of recruited me, if you will, her and Jackie Samarco. They gave me the tour, and once I understood the vision, and this was, I guess, maybe 3 years ago, maybe. Once I understood the vision of what water park and what was happening at National Landing, it was a very easy sell. I mean, there's a consciousness in Arlington of what we do with our bodies, what we put in our bodies. People want to understand, like, what is in that. When do you cook it, and is this fried chicken good enough to give to my child, right?
That's right.
And the community there, like the water park community, and just that like it's just
Very close
Arlington
knitted.
is such a great place to be. It's walkable. It's doing all of the things. So easy sell for me.
Oh, I'm so excited to hear that because, I think the same thing. I work in economic development and that's my job. But, hey, thank you.
Of course. No,
I'm
thank
glad
you
to have you.
for doing the thing. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. And so as we begin to wrap up here, something that I always love is if looking back and in your youth and your trajectory, the mentors, the people that you've had in your life, if you were to give words of inspiration to a young person, a budding entrepreneur, somebody that's considering and going into the space, what would you tell them to do and why?
Well, I am working on putting something together more formal for people interested in this space. So thank you for asking that question because it's top of mind. I think the biggest thing is doing your homework. And I know it sounds like, that might be sort of cliche, but I would encourage anyone to do their homework. Get really specific if you can, just for the sake of doing your homework. So, for instance, if you want to open a donut shop, know where you want to open it, right? And then go backwards from there. So let me summarize that. Do your homework on what it takes to open a donut shop in Arlington at the corner of 15th and Crystal Drive. So that might be meeting with someone in economic development, right?
Yes.
And asking about how much this is going to cost, right? Going
Mhm.
through, some of these workshops that are widely available in Virginia, but definitely in Arlington, that tell you, get a pro forma and tell you, hey, here's how much money you're going to need. Here's the time that it's going to take to pay it back. Here's what's realistic. Here's worst case. Oftentimes, this we get. I'm a great cook. I'm a phenomenal cook, I
Mm.
believe.
Mhm.
But being a great cook and making money in business can be two very different things. Some of the no shade, no tea. Some of the best performing restaurants in this country, in this region, are mediocre at food and beverage, but they know how
Mm.
to make money.
Mm.
Some of the worst performing and people that have been out of business have been the best cooks or best bartenders or best servers or whatever it is. So take your heart out of it for a moment. We know you can fry donuts, we know you can make donuts, but do your homework and see if you can make a bit. It's still going to be a risk. But the biggest thing I say is sit down. You talked about mentorship.
Mhm.
Sit down with people that have done this before. And when they tell you, this is the last thing here, Tara. When they tell you that tuna fish filled donuts ain't gonna make it in Arlington,
That fusion.
right? You say, man, I got this idea. I had this over in Norway. Listen, this ain't Norway. When they tell you tuna fish filled donuts are not gonna make it in Arlington, Virginia, listen to the experts. Don't go put your life savings and your $500,000 that in your 401k into this concept after all of the mentors and the experts have told you. Go to Norway to open that, but don't do it here. So doing homework, I think, is essential because lastly, I'm
Yeah.
sorry I'm going hard.
No, no, please. This is good.
Here's what happens. My good friend Gordon Ramsay, who
Mhm.
is all over the tube and helps restaurants, kitchen nightmares, 24 hours of hell on back. What I see is that if they would have taken taken his advice earlier, right? I mean, if you call him in prior to spending the $1 million just to going in debt to putting your house up, you could have
Yes,
done these simple things to avoid that mistake. So do
that's
your
right.
homework and you can avoid calling Gordon Ramsay in to come fix your restaurant.
I love that on so many levels because in economic development, working with all these small businesses, that's what we see the difference between people that are successful are the ones that really invest in understanding their industry, their market. And even if something happens, they're prepared for it.
Yes,
They can mitigate it, you know? And so to have you say that, Rock, thank you.
of
Because
course. No, thank you.
it's not just Tara saying, hey,
Right. It's like the
you don't
parents.
want
It's like
Gordon Ramsay coming in,
right.
right? You want them to come in for other reasons, you
Yeah,
know? So
exactly.
thank you for that. And thank you for this session. This has been a real joy. And I want to make sure as we begin to wrap up, I really want people to visit Queen Mother's in National Landing. And so with that, what are your hours? How can people interact with you? What are your social media handles? How can we stay in touch?
Yes, please. Thank you so much again for having me and all that you do for Arlington and economic development and entrepreneurs. Queen Mother's is on Crystal Drive at Water Park and National Landing. Right now, winter hours we're open from 12 to 7 every single day.
Wow.
You can follow us at Queen Mother's DC. Old handle, y'all. Don't forgive me for that. I love DC.
DMV, DC, you know.
Right. Queen Mother's DC, and I am at Rock Harper, both on Instagram. But come check us out. We're going to be launching our catering You can get it through DoorDash delivered or
Oh,
straight through our
super good.
website. So, people that want to, or if you just want to order bulk sandwiches for the five of you at a discount because they're cheaper when you order them in bulk, you can do that as well if you check out queenmothercooks.com. That will
I'm so
be,
glad you're catering.
thank you. Yeah, that'll be there within about a week or so.
Awesome. And again, thank you so much, Chef Brock Harper. This has been a delight. I so enjoyed talking with you. And thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your entrepreneurial journey. And remember, you can learn more about Queen Mother. Go to those social media handles, follow, like, interact, and do follow BizLaunch and the National Landing Bid on our social channels as well. Until the next time, I'm Tara Palacios, your host for the Innovation Economy podcast with Arlington Economic Development. See you soon.
Thanks again for listening to the Innovation Economy podcast, brought to you by Arlington Economic Development. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to subscribe on your podcast channel of choice and leave us a rating so that others can find the show more easily. You can access more episodes at innovationeconomy.show or on your podcast platform of choice. The Innovation Economy is produced by Missing Link, a Latina-owned, strategy-driven, creatively fueled production co-op. From ideation to creation, they craft human connections through intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Until next time, let's keep innovating.
The Agile brand.